This is the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson. Once again, we're going to talk today about Greece and Europe. And we're going to focus on one particular political risk that I feel is going to continue in Greece for a very, very long time. And I also think it's going to probably get worse as the overall austerity measures are implemented. And I say that because now, as I predicted previously, the Greeks are trying to tinker with the time frame in which these measures need to be implemented, which is only going to delay the civil unrest, which has already happened several times, which will only get worse as these measures are implemented and will continue as long as they are in place. Now, the huge government debt and resulting spending cuts that have increased the unemployment rate in Greece has caused people to take to the streets. Greece is probably the, if you, for lack of a better word, the worst example of these types of protests. Once again, I'm all for protests. I'm all for democracy. I'm all for voting. I'm all for anything that is democratic in nature. These particular street protests and forms of civil unrest have caused damage. They have sometimes become violent. And in Greece, they have shown that there is an underlying anti-immigrant fascist movement that is blaming other people other than the Greeks themselves for the problems created by their structural political risks that are inherent in their economic policies. This can only get worse as the austerity measures become more and more ingrained into the Greek government policies. And the fact that they are trying to slow down the implementation of them is only going to drag it out further into the future. What they are doing is creating their own long-term political risk for civil unrest in Greece. The underlying issue of this fascist movement is the biggest concern that I have. That would cause a lot more physical altercations and dangerous violence as Greeks lose their jobs. The cost of staples of bread and other types of food go up. The fascist movement is going to lock in on immigrants and other people, and they're basically going to accuse them of causing this to happen. This is going to cause more civil unrest. It's already caused some riots. It's going to cause other riots. It's going to destroy property. And if the austerity measures are completely implemented, you're going to have a bunch of people roaming around who are unemployed, bitter, and looking for somebody to attack. And this is not a place where you want to have a brick and mortar building or an investment in one if there is going to be a continuous stream of long-term civil unrest. This is a long-term problem that I see happening now in smaller pockets, but I think it's going to be a serious problem for the Greek government, one in which I do not believe they are capable of handling, and one of which they are doing everything they can to pretend is not there. That inaction is also a large-term political risk for Greece. Now, the sharp spending from the government, let me rephrase it, the sharp cut in spending from the government and the reduction in benefits to people are the biggest issues that the fascist movement is locking in on. And by blaming the immigrants for these particular things, they are basically saying that we have let these people in. Our cherished perks are going away because of these people. They're leaving out the most important part of that, which is the structural defects in Greece's economic policies that led to this to begin with. The other political risk that is slowly being created because of these street protests, the long-term potential for them, and the fascist movement building very quietly and sometimes outwardly in Greece, is a potential for people holding these these views to become elected officials, major players. If this happens, which is possible, then you really have a major issue with trade policies between Greece and other countries who may try to somehow sanction or somehow force Greece not to treat these people in a harsh way by applying economic pressure. That economic pressure may come at the worst time, right around the time when Greece is about to pull out of this mess, sinking it further in, giving the new, shall we say, fascist leaders an opportunity to stoke the fires, and then you will have more civil unrest. I see this as a endless glass of gasoline that's being poured on an economic fire by right-wing politicians and some leaders in the Eurozone who just don't want to address it somehow. And obviously the only way to address this issue is through Eurobonds, and according to Angela Merkel, who has said this more than once, not in her lifetime. Well, potentially in her lifetime, she's going to see a complete meltdown of a lot of Greek society in the form of civil unrest. She may also see the Greek government become so right-wing that they're going to have to do something in the form of sanctions to try to get it to stop treating immigrants and people who had nothing to do with this economic meltdown, treating them in a very harsh manner. Long-term political risk, I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I will be, unfortunately. This has been the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson.